Hi everyone! Today I wanted to show you guys how I boil wash my dolls. I've been wanting to do this tutorial for a while since I created this YouTube account, but I wanted to have a good diversity of dolls with different hair types that were really dramatic looking to show you how this works and the different results it yields on the different types of hair. So if you didn't know, not all dolls have the same types of hair. There's a few different kinds. Traditionally, saran and Kanekalon are used on dolls as well as nylon. So in my experience on nylon hair, which is that type of hair that tends to stretch and frizz, it's used on a lot of the 2011, 2010 Bratz dolls. It's used on a lot of like budget, low quality dolls. Not so much on Mattel dolls, but you know, dollar store, things like that. There's a lot of different grades of nylon hair, and if it's the really tough stuff that gets very frizzy, boil washing alone doesn't do a whole lot. That's why I recommend doing the flat iron treatment, which I do have a tutorial. Just check out my tips and tutorials playlist if you're interested in that. But that will help. It will kind of deflate it and make it easier to comb through. But more or less, I would say that the boil wash is most effective on saran hair and Kanekalon. So saran hair is thicker and the fibers are actually larger. It tends to be sleeker and shinier looking, and it gets tangly really fast. So for example, on newer Bratz dolls like the 2015 or on the original Bratz dolls, that's the kind of hair they used. And then like on a lot of 80s Barbies. Whereas Kanekalon, which when I think of Kanekalon hair, I think of 90s Barbies, the ones I grew up with, who have the crazy frizzy hair, or a lot of Wintertime Wonderland Bratz use it. So, and live wigs are made from Kanekalon. This is more of the soft, fluffy fiber that almost looks like it gets moldy and dreaded with age. So when you think of like 90s Barbie dolls that have really like platinum hair originally, but then it kind of goes gray and it looks all balled up. So case in point, Miss Courtney over here has Kanekalon hair. So you don't have to know about the hair types when boil washing, but it does help because different temperatures seem to work better for the different types of hair. So nylon and saran hair are very resistant. It takes a lot more heat to get them to do anything. And with saran hair, you're not going to get a totally straight, like from root to tip look with one boil wash. I mean, you'd probably have to use super duper hot water, but for just like a regular, you know, pretty hot boil wash, you're not going to immediately smooth out all of the hair. And that's a pretty good indicator that you're working with saran. So when the bangs still maintain their shape, and if the hair just slightly loosens but it's still wavy, then that's probably a good chance that you're boil washing saran hair. And that's nice because dolls like the Island Fun Barbies from the 80s who have really curly hair, the boil wash almost reforms the curls. Whereas Kanekalon hair, because it's so much more flyaway and fine, it will just immediately go straight. And if the water is too hot, it will actually cause the hair to ball up, which is not an issue. You can always just re-boil wash it and comb it straight. But Kanekalon hair will have the most dramatic transformation and will succumb the easiest to the heat, but it also will remove the original hairstyle. So if you don't want the bangs to be flat, then don't just dunk them in the water. So I'm going to show you my dolls that I'll be doing and the supplies and whatnot. I have 4 models for you. So we have Teen Courtney from 1996. We have Princess and the Pop Star Kiara from 2011. We have Fashion Jeans Barbie from 1981. And we have Happy Birthday Barbie from 1983. So these two have saran, two have Kanekalon. I don't have any nylon hair dolls to show you, but like I said, it doesn't really change much when you use the boil wash. So you're going to need some combs. For the actual boil wash part, when you have them in hot water, you're going to want a comb with super fine teeth. It's like flat ironing. The finer the teeth, the better the result you're going to get. You're going to need a bowl to heat your water up in, as well as a microwave. Now, you can heat the water and heat the water on the stove in a pan. I've never tried those techniques. It really just depends on you personally, what you're comfortable with. There are a lot of different ways to actually heat up the water. I like this way, but definitely do whatever you feel comfortable with. You're gonna need some gel. This is really optional, but But what I like to do is I take a few little squirts of just generic cheap gel and I put it in this color bottle and I fill it up the rest of the way with water and I shake it to mix it all up. And I drizzle this over the hair to give it a shinier, less flyaway look. I find this makes a really big difference. I also recommend washing your dolls before you boil wash. You could, in theory, just throw them in the boil wash water, but that's kind of gross, like especially with these guys where they're secondhand. That's nasty. I would say wash and condition them first. You're gonna get the best results. Okay, so we are back. I washed everybody's bodies, I washed and conditioned their hair, and you can see that there is a huge difference. So excuse disembodied Barbie, I need to repair her neck. I'm going to start with the dolls with connect on here because they're the kind of dolls that need to be babied in the boil wash. You don't want to just stick dolls with connect on hair in the water and leave them, because their hair will get kinky looking or it won't all smooth out, whereas with saran hair, I usually will leave the dolls in the bowl for several minutes while I get other things done. So, oh, and please excuse Courtney's sticker mark, I have to get that off later. This is really important. This is what's going to get the best results. The fine tooth comb and going from root to tip, especially up by the scalp region where there's usually a lot of little hairs and a lot of fuzziness. This is also the time to find your doll's hair parting and to part it out the way it should be. How long you put it in the microwave will just depend on your microwave and the bowl you're using. After you do the boil wash a while, you'll probably start to find particular bowls or mugs you like to use the best. This is my favorite. I like how deep it is and I like the way it evenly heats up. I don't usually like to do more than 3 dolls with a lot of hair in one bowl, but if they're like Kelly and they don't have much and their hair is not too bad, I might do 4 or 5, but I never do more than 5. And you might have to repeat this process. Sometimes you won't get the results right away, so you'll have to do it immediately, or sometimes it'll look good when it's wet. But then once it's dry, you might need to go back and touch it up. If you're going to do multiple batches, I would dump out the water and put fresh water in the bowl each time, just because sometimes certain dolls stink up the water, especially if they're older, like my 80s ladies. And then once you feel like the hair is how you want it, I like to set it with cold water. So you can either put them in a bowl with ice cubes, I used to do that, but now I just run them under the cold tap. And then I just drizzle some of my gel from root to tip. This is really diluted, but if you put too much in, your dolls will get sticky if you put a lot of gel on them. And I boil wash all my dolls. So even if they're brand new, I boil wash them. I would say 9.5 out of 10 times I boil wash everybody. Because on new dolls, it'll make them look that much nicer and keep that much nicer. And on used dolls, it will make them look 20 times, 100 times better. So I'll be back when the bowl for them is warm. Okay, so I heated this bowl up and the dolls have been in it for a few minutes. While I was waiting for them to heat up in here, I cleaned some of the dolls in the sink and got that sticker residue off Courtney. I did comb them out once already, and you can see their heads are super squishy. And you'll notice the difference is that with saran hair, you can still see her curls. And again, I'm going to find her part and make sure to comb it where it should be. So I'll be back when these dolls are dry. I'm going to rinse these guys in cold water and gel them, and I'll show you what they look like when they're dry. I wanted to take the opportunity to show you guys how you can put curls back into a doll using the boil wash. So you can see Megara over here is pretty sad looking. Now I don't want to curl all of her hair because it's a pain to take care of. So I usually do the back straight, but obviously like her bangs and her little tendrils in the front look better curly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first get rid of all of the fuzziness in her hair. I'm basically going to straighten everything to make this easier. You can use real curlers or you can use straws like what I have over here. But basically, I'm going to get her little tendril, use the straw, and I'm going to roll this away from her face and kind of space out the little hairs how I want them. And then I'm going to take my bobby pin, and I like to put the bendy part in the straw so it doesn't leave crimp marks on the hair. You can also use pipe cleaners for this. Sometimes I do that. I'm not going for a spiral curl, I just kind of want to tuck the ends under. And I'm just going to dunk the rollers really quickly into the water. And because I want to keep that little swoop in her bangs, I'm trying not to get the ends back in the water. And it basically just takes a lot of finessing, so I'm going to leave these two in curlers until it's dry. But like I said, this part I didn't want super curly. So I'll be back when it's all set. Okay, so the girls have all been boil washed and dressed up, and their hair's been styled. So I'll show you Meg, and these are just some other dolls from the same lot that are waiting to be photographed. Meg over here, I curled these little tendrils and also her bangs, and I really like how this ended up with kind of like a finger wave look. It wasn't what I was going for, but when I was combing her hair out when it was getting boil washed, I really liked the way it looked, so I kept those little like pretty waves. And then these are her little curls in the front. They didn't turn out exactly how I wanted them to. I actually did those twice because her hair was so messed up, so I might have to do them a third time. But I'll show you some of my Megs in my bedroom in a minute because I curled their hair as well. So then Kiara over here, what's interesting about her is that her purple side is Kanekalon, but her brown haired side is actually Saran, which I didn't notice because before I had her purple side showing. That's how I got her, and I decided that the brown hair flattered her a bit more. So that explains why when I was boil washing her, this brown portion of her hair didn't go totally straight. If I like separate, you can see that the purple is pinned straight, but the brown still has some slight waving at the bottom, and that's why, because it's Saran. And then ironically, Courtney over here has kind of a similar thing. And I don't know how I didn't notice this because my sister has 3 other Courtney dolls just like this lady. But her light blonde caramel streaks, those are also Saran. So you can see that the blonde bits didn't clean up as nicely because they are Saran and they were so haggard from being stored roughly. This dark brown part of her hair is really nice. And I did boil wash her hair twice because when I realized this was Saran, I thought that maybe it would clean up better after a second boil wash, and it helped a little bit. And then we have my 2 dolls that have fully Saran hair. So we have Birthday Barbie and Fashion Jeans Barbie, both from the 80s. And I will say, for dolls that are as old as they are, because she's from 83 and she's from 81, they have beautiful hair, and that's kind of hard to find in 80s Barbies. So Birthday Barbie's is like new, and it has like some nice waves. It's a really nice color. She didn't have any split ends. And Fashion Jeans Barbie, she actually got boil washed twice because I had her apart for neck repair, and then I just figured she could use a little extra TLC. And this poor girl does not have a lot of hair, and she actually did have a lot of split ends, like on this side of her head underneath her hair, so I had to kind of trim those down. But the second boil wash made her hair beautiful. I was very, very impressed. Actually, all of the 80s dolls that I got in the same lot had really nice hair after the boil wash. And then these are some of my Meg dolls that I've curled. So I thought I'd show you. It's been a long time, but you can see I like reformed their bangs. I didn't curl her tendrils, but I did hers. And Meg in the back over there, both of them. So there's a lot of cool creative things you can definitely do with the boil wash, especially if the doll has Kanekalon hair. So I hope that tutorial helped you guys out. And if you want to see before and after pictures of all of the different makeover pictures I have on my Flickr, definitely check that out in the Dolly Transformations album. Those are really just the more photogenic transformations that I remembered to actually document. If you would like to see the written out tutorial, I will also leave a direct link to that below. And until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.